Hey everyone, Joe Carrell here, and I'm excited to be here today because I want to introduce you to a couple of good friends of mine. Number one, right to my right, is Bryan Cole, and some of you are probably thinking, I recognize that guy, and there's a couple places where that may have happened. Number one, he travels all over the United States, basically being Steve Perry. He is the front man for a professional Journey tribute band called Resurrection, a Journey tribute. The other place is you and your bandmates came out to the studio here, it's probably been a year ago now.
I think so, yeah.
Where we recorded several of the greatest Journey hits of all times, like Separate Ways, Send Her My Love, Stone in Love, some things like that. And so you've probably seen his face on the channel doing that kind of a thing. But when we did those Journey videos, you had one caveat. And your caveat was?
I wanted to bring my own mic.
Yes, you
because
did.
I nothing against your mic collection.
Right,
You've
right.
got a great mic collection. I just know my mic. You know what I mean? And I know what fits right with my voice. And being a singer, I think it's important to have your own mic that really has all the qualities that really bring the very best out of your voice. And ADK has done that for me since the very beginning.
Your microphone that they saw in the videos.
Yeah.
Was a 67.
It was the TC67, which they don't make anymore.
But it's a tube.
It's a tube mic,
67,
and
yeah.
it's phenomenal.
Well, it sounded great, and we had tons of feedback on your voice, which, of course, is the whole package. It would have to have been your voice and delivery, the microphone, the preamplifier. I mean, everything turned out great. You know, I remember mixing that stuff, thinking this is mixing like a dream. But because of that, I had another friend follower that saw those videos. It's like, hey, I'm a huge ADK fan as well, and I know Miles from ADK, which leads me to my other new friend right here, Miles Fulwider, which is the president of ADK Microphones. And somebody reached out to you about that video as well, right? Said, hey, have you seen?
Yeah.
First of all, what do you think about Bryan's pipes?
I think like everybody else that's commented on that, it's pretty incredible. You close your eyes and you're not sure what you're hearing.
Is that really Journey? Yeah, exactly. He's fantastic. Well, tell us about ADK and your journey with ADK. But you were not the founder. You're the current president, though.
Correct, yeah. So this is, I believe, our 27th year with ADK Microphones. It was founded by Larry Villela, brilliant pianist and engineer and all these things, and he set out in the late 90s. Everyone's vintage microphone collections started to grow exponentially in value, and he, as just such an astute ear and passion for music, just really got panicked about there's these classic tone profiles. How do we maintain that? How do people afford that? How does this just continue on? And so he set out and built ADK Microphones, that was to do that. That was to take, not that the end point wasn't to create a tone exactly like the vintage microphone. That was really the starting point. Like, how do we take that tone that we know and love when you think of a 67 or 251 and you reach for that? How do we take that, but then put this into a modern workflow and make that work that's going to work in the very dynamic way that we work today? And particularly we have such low noise floor with the equipment that we use, and obviously different type of the reliability of components and things like that. That a microphone that's going to be around 27 years and stuff like that. You're using a TC microphone that we no longer make, but you're using it every day, and it sounds great.
That is one thing about old microphones. I've rented some, paid good money to rent some before, and you get them to the studio and power them up, and it's like, oh, that, this is a sparse acoustic guitar-driven ballad, and that noise floor is going to be a real serious problem. That's something we don't think about very much when we think about the classics, but it's nonetheless a battle that we face. So you have a pretty broad, when you talk about those tones and those voices, you have a pretty good number of those that you have recreated. Give us all those model numbers.
Yeah, so we have, the DNA exists in all three product lines. So briefly, we have three product lines. We have our Z2 that are premier tube microphones. These are what we've been using today. We have our T-FET lines, which are all FET, solid state, large diaphragm, tripolar, so you have multiple patterns. And then we have our 3 Sigma, which is our hybrid microphone line, where you have a small amplifier body. We call it our head amp. It's 22 millimeter, but you might see, it might be what you're familiar with when seeing like a small diaphragm microphone. But you're able to swap components, and you can have large diaphragm on these small bodies, and you have this full range of tones that you can use there. And so what you find across all the product lines is you find the same range. You have our 67, 47, 251, 12, 49. In our Z2s, we have our 800 as well. Our philosophy is picking the right color, the right crayon out of the crayon box for whatever the job is. And so that's what we strive to do. So in all of those lines, you find a 67 in, the Z2 67, you find our, what we call our Hamburg 67 in our TFET line, and then you have our Lollipop 67 that affixes in. And so you see all of that, but the purpose of that is trying to help choose the best solution for whatever the application is.
My first exposure to these was through Chuck Ainley, which is a legendary engineer. I'm sure anyone that's watching these videos knows who he's, probably Nashville's all-time most celebrated, engineer, most recognizable face. But he had, I think, your entire product line, at least one of every one of them back then. And he had more microphones in his collection than the studio that I was renting space in the same studio where he was renting space, and he had more collection, a bigger collection than the studio. So he was like, man, anytime you're doing a vocal or an overdub or whatever, come back and grab anything you want. He's just a great guy. And so I went back one day and I'm like, hey, I've got this artist and I probably need to grab a few things because I've never worked with him before. Have no idea what I'm getting into. He's like, use the ADK stuff. And he was like, and not only, for a couple reasons. Number one, they sound great. Number two was they all took the same power supply. They all took the same cable, and they all fit into the same basket. So when it came to doing a microphone shootout, option number one, tweet. Option number two, it was that fast. There was no changing out proprietary cables, power supplies, baskets, all that nonsense that we have to do sometimes to just get rolling. And it was great. I think, as I recall, we stuck with the 251. Not that that matters, but yeah. And so the way you distinguish them with color, they all, even though they all, basically, have the same appearance. Even though the electronics are fully different and everything, you have some different colors, right? You have this is the 49 here, and this lighter blue is a 67. You may have seen some of their other products that got red. It's a 251.
The 12.
This is the 12, right? And the cream color is the 251.
Yep, correct.
Yeah, and etc. But that leads me to something though. Since you have multiple products that look alike, I'm sure people probably assume that it's, essentially the same guts inside of there, and with some kind of not trickery, but using various component changes to get the different voicing, but otherwise all the same. But what I found out, that's not at all true.
Yeah. So it really boils down for us. One of the things I think that's unique to what we do is all of the microphones have a capsule that has been designed by ADK Microphones. And so what that has allowed us to do is we get that tone profile from the design of the capsule and the necessary transformer. So they, for example, those have different transformers in the microphone itself. And so that allows us to get that tone profile that we want without sort of shoehorning with EQ or other type of circuitry to make it sound a certain way. So by doing that, it allows us to get a better frequency response, the off axis, which is a lot of times people don't think about the off axis sensitivity on a microphone because we're always so used to hearing the sound direct source, which is important, certainly vital, but the off axis, sometimes those room reflections, the other sound, that's where you can really start to hear some of those differences. And so all of those things, we achieve better performance because of not having to do some of those circuitry. And so our ethos has always been this, you see it all over. We refer to straight wire theory. So it really is no extra circuitry in there. It's design circuit to capsule on out, and that's how we try to make as pure a path as possible. So and that's the painstaking lengths that we go to get the sound that we do in our design.
Now, I know when I opened up the case, and it's a beautiful case, by the way. You should get some B-roll, Max, for when we because it's like, wow, I'd use this as a suitcase, for my luggage at the airport and be everyone's envy. But that said, there were I noticed multiple tubes So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so something that we've really enjoyed doing is exploring the tube options. And so all of the Z2 microphones, there's essentially 3 tube, we call it a tube sampler pack that comes with the microphone. So all of them ship with the 12 AY7, which we explain to be the most audiophile, purest tube response.
And when you say ships with it, you mean that's the one that's already inside the microphone?
That's in the side, and there's an extra one that comes with it.
Okay.
But then in addition to that, we actually have the 12 AT7 and a 12 AX7. And each of those are different, and they actually push the output transformer a little harder. And so our philosophy behind that was just taking some thought in the pre-production process. If I know I have a rock singer coming in, or maybe it's a really, I want to push that output transformer, and I don't want, I'm not changing the overall timbre of the microphone, but there's a different drive characteristic there, and being able to swap that and manipulate that inherently within the analog domain is really useful, and it's not relying on plugins or other types of tools to do that. So we want, again, we've always believed in options and colors and things like this, and so we want to provide as many options for that. And so if that's something that appeals to you, so the same 12AX7 that you put in your guitar amp can go in this microphone as well, and you can drive that a little harder, and you'll hear some of that natural harmonic distortion and things, and it's a very pleasing approach to a production to apply that way.
I have to tell you, so the microphones that I have they don't make anymore. So you don't make anymore. And I noticed, other than the amazingly sexy case that it's in, I noticed the build quality of the power supply is incredible. I mean, look at that. When you turn the knob, right, it's like turning a amazing tube compressor. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the quality, I can just feel this, and I'm not giving this back to you, by the way. I'm taking this home with me. But in all seriousness, I love these mics. My voice is so transparent with it. And Joe, I think you can attest to it, is you don't have to do much. You know what I mean? You plug it in, you sing through it, you run it through a mic preamp. For those bedroom producers that, say, can't afford a $5,000 preamp, that's okay. You can take this and plug this into an Apollo, plug it into an SSL 2 or 2 Plus, whatever, and it's still going to sound amazing.
To that point, I mean, that was something that this is the Z2 or the Z², and the original Z-Mod was very, very popular, and when we redesigned that, it was a complete redesign, as well as the power supply and everything, and that was it's all done in the United States. The metalwork, all of that is done here, and then we worked with famed microphone designer David Bach, and that was that idea is, we want this to work wherever you're working, whether that's in a beautiful studio like this, mm-hmm. or if you're just doing something on your laptop at home, right. Wherever. Like, let's just remove all of the other things and just get the best possible capture we can. And
I can tell you from experience that I've done it all with your microphones, and that is, I've gone to a great studio like this in Nashville, and I've just done, someone would call me to say, hey, we want you to sing on our record or whatever. I just plug it in and it's ready to go. No matter what environment you're in, these things sound great. And that's the reason I use them, and I love them. I really do. Now,
of course, we are kind of focusing on tubes there for a moment, but you have a solid state product line as well.
Yeah, which again still shares the same capsule DNA that the Z2s have, and they're all FET solid state microphones, and they sound incredible. And we have our 47 and 67, 251, 12, and in our TFAT line we actually have a unique microphone called the Munich 7. So they all have a fun homage name. We have our Vienna 12, our Hamburg 67, Berlin 47, Frankfurt 49, right. and Cremona 251. But within that range, we have our Munich M7 microphone, and that is an M7 style capsule. But if I were to explain what that sounds like, it sounds like the low end of the 47 and that creamy top end of the 67. And so it's a really unique balance that is really fun. And that only exists in the TFAT line as well. But yeah, so we have that. We have a lot of versatility in that line.
One thing that you said earlier that kind of took me by surprise is how long ADK has been around. I had like no idea originally, and then I got to thinking back in time about how long ago it was that I actually borrowed those microphones from Chuck. And it's like, oh yeah, we're getting older, time is marching on. So you've been in business a long time, but what that means is obviously you're turning around products that people want and have had success with. So congratulations.
Thank you.
On being the new president. What, about 4 years now, you said? 23?
Yeah, 23, yeah.
Okay, so 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
Well, congratulations on that. We look forward to seeing what you have in the works. You haven't told us much, but you said there's some other stuff happening.
Yeah, there could be.
Okay, cool. So remember, down below, there's going to be a link where you can download the Multitracks. And I don't know why I'm pointing back here other than the fact that there's a drum set back there. So you can download drums, bass, electric guitar, everything, as well as Bryan's amazing voice. And we intentionally used 2 microphones at the same time. Tried to get the capsules kind of close together. So there's a 49 and a 67, and you'll hear the sonic difference. And that's kind of the whole point of having a product line like this. And what makes it great, for us as microphone lovers and gear lovers is that, you're just like, yeah, honey, I really do need all those voices. Because you'll hear, it's like they're very different. And while this one fits Bryan best, I have this other singer that this one would fit best, or this other instrument, or whatever the case may be. So download these tracks and check out Bryan and the drums and the bass guitar on this classic Rocky 3. It was Rocky 3, right? Yeah. Rocky 3 Survivor, Eye of the Tiger, and do your own mix on it. Have a great time doing that. And if you are looking at these and thinking, man, I would like to own one of these, right before we started rolling, Miles said he would be willing to do a 10% discount to all the viewers. So there'll be a couple codes below. There'll be a code to download the Multitracks, as well as a code that's going to take you to the website to get a 10% discount on all their products, which is amazing. So thank you for offering that. So other than that, grab the tracks, have a blast, and we'll see you next time.